Awesome. I think I'm just going to kick it off here. So welcome everyone. My name is Colleen Sullivan, and I am a mom, first and foremost, of two grown children. One is out of college. He's my ADHD kiddo, and I have a daughter who is in college. She's in her senior year. And it's been a ride, right? Especially for my ADHD kiddo. Just a quick introduction. My son was diagnosed at a very young age, probably preschool. They started saying something's going on. And me being, he was my first. So I was like, he's a happy kid. And he's in preschool. And I would just, I wasn't concerned at that point, but once he started into more grade school, it was becoming an issue. And, but the struggle really was when we took him to doctors and specialists. They were pointing me into just one direction, right? One solution, one direction, and that was the pharmaceutical meds. And I read enough about them. And I went down that road very, very reluctantly. But of course, I'm a mom who wants to do everything to help their child. And we often, kind of put those blinders on and not ask the right questions. And I was just like, okay, that's what we have to do. And went down the road of pharmaceutical meds with another enormous struggle. So not only was he struggling with the ADHD symptoms, he now was struggling with all the side effects and causing him to really not enjoy being a kid. And I just remember year after year, it was just like, we got through another year. We got through another year. And he was not a happy camper. I was not a happy camper. And this went on. This went on through grade school, middle school, high school, into college. And mind you, he was a good kid. He wasn't behavioral, no behavioral issues. But it was holding him back. It was just kind of weighing. It was almost like this dark umbrella that was kind of, or a dark cloud that was following him through his life. And it wasn't until, long story short, it wasn't until his senior year in college where we came across these natural solutions. And I said, you know what, we're going to give it a try. And he kind of looked at me like, Mom, haven't we tried everything under the sun? And I said, yes, but we're not going to stop until we find something. And it was his senior year in college, full course load. The pandemic hit, so he was homeschooling at college in his, the four corners of his bedroom, basically. And he got his highest GPA in college with a full course load. And he didn't realize it at the time. But it was because it was subtle for him. But I said, Amen. And he was just like, and then he kind of kept thinking back on all his, achievements during these 2 semesters. And he was like, wow, this is the first time I've tasted that success without a struggle. So, we want our kids to succeed, but we don't want them to struggle. And this was really eye-opening for us, because all along he was one of those kids that was, kind of pushing through and not giving up, but always saying, Mom, school is just not for me. Maybe school is just not for me. But he never gave up, and he graduated with, his highest GPA ever. His goal was to graduate college higher than a 3.0, and he did. And it was such a win for me as a mom, but mostly him, as a young adult, and, proving to himself that, yes, I can do things, and yes, I can have confidence, and I can feel like myself without all these side effects. And let me tell you, the side effects were almost worse than the ADHD symptoms. And I say that truthfully. We experienced some really harsh side effects. And at the time, thinking back on this, I'm not going to beat myself up or shame myself, but asking the right questions, what are these pharmaceutical meds? What are they doing to, my child's brain and body? And once again, it's a no shame zone, and we're not here to shame anyone. We're just here to, talk about these struggles and offer, move towards solutions for everyone, because I know me and my family have gotten a taste of this, of what it can be like to not go through life, feeling, the anxious feelings, the, not being able to focus, not being able to do the schoolwork. It's hard on the child, but it's also hard on the parent to watch your child go through life thinking they can't do things, right? So that's just my little introduction. And I'm going to pass the mic over to Val. And Val has a story with her kiddo, but she's also a mental health specialist in the schools. So she sees a lot of what our kids are going through, whether they have a diagnosis or not. Our kids are under a lot of stress, right? Just a lot of stress. So Val, share away. Sorry if my intro was a little bit long. I can go on and on and on, but we'll pass it on to you.
Okay, so hello everybody. I am Val Doherty, and I am so thankful and grateful that I came across these products. I was having some significant autoimmune issues, which I do have. Regardless, I had gotten COVID, and long story short, found the products. A very good girlfriend of mine is a brain coach, and she is pharmaceutical biology background. Her son had suicidal ideation, was very concerned about his mental health and his well-being. And just because she knows really the true science behind pharmaceuticals, she was really reluctant to wanting to start there. So I try very much. And I was at a point that my anxiety was really, really tough. And, the mom brain, we all have it. And when our kids are struggling, of course, we struggle. And I reached out, and it's been the best decision that I've ever made for myself. So my youngest son, I knew very early on. I taught special ed years ago, and been working with children, teens, and families for 20 plus years at this point, in educational settings, case management settings, school settings, private practice. I specialize in trauma. I'm an educational advocate. So I really have seen the big realm of life in a different way that our brains work, in a sense. So my youngest, he's sitting over here with me now, and it was really cute because he heard you talking, Colleen, and he said, maybe I should come and tell everybody my story. And I said, CJ, do you want to? And he said, well, I will, but can't be put on the spot tonight. Maybe I'll do it next time. So that is really awesome, because CJ would have never done that before. Academically, he has really struggled previously. He has dyslexia, auditory processing disorder, and ADHD. Going through all of my schooling and being, clinical counselor, everything I learned was, pharmaceuticals. And I didn't know different. Even in private practice, I had so many families ask me, what can I do? I don't want to put my child on pharmaceutical. And I didn't have answers. So after the success that I had for my own self, I reached out again to my girlfriend, and I wanted to hear more about her son's situation. She introduced me to Colleen. And then I've met so many amazing professionals and parents that really have gone through very similar situations with their children and their success stories, and then really learning the science behind the products. I gave it a whirlwind with him, and within a few months, I mean, it was like night and day for this kid. The principal was emailing me, the teachers were emailing me. He's telling me how happy he is. He went from really 4 or 5 grade levels behind to really caught up. He read at the end of last year, he got up in front of at least 100 people with his class, and they all had a part, and he read for about 3 minutes. He would have never done that before. It was really interesting. It was over my girlfriend's last week, and I'm so happy to be able to share this story because he never shared this with me until last week. And my girlfriend's on the product. She's got some other stuff going on, and her response has been amazing. So CJ turns to us and says, when I was on my other medicine, I was so depressed. I'm not depressed anymore. I'm happy. And it made me almost want to cry because I've never heard, he's 11 now. But when we started pharmaceuticals, he was 5.5. And it was tug of war with my husband because he was like, we're not putting our kid on this and that. And this is what I do for my life. Like, the kid needs support. And it's changed everything for him. It's changed his academics. It's changed his personality to who he truly is, his authentic self. It's changed just his well-being. He's always, thank God he's so good at sports, but he's living, he's happy. He's just life has just changed for him. And then my oldest son, we have 3 boys. My oldest son is ADD and attentive type with anxiety. And we started the products, different regimen with him. And really the ADD symptoms, immediately really supported him. His anxiety really was not so much. And I don't know if it was the transition from 8th grade into 9th grade, going from doing online school to in school, that transition piece, but it was bad. So he was texting me every morning when he got to school. It was basically within 2-3 minutes every day at the same time. And I was like, now you're giving me anxiety. Like, I can't be at my job trying to support everybody and you're freaking out at your school. Like, I need help with this. So we started the Kids Mood Plus, and I'm not kidding you, the very next day when he started that, he is not, and I always say when I share the story, knock on wood, because he has not texted me since. So he's made a lot of progress with his academics, his anxiety. It's been life-changing. And so many clients that I work with, same stories. The kids, ADHD, there's trauma history, there's anxiety, there's autoimmune stuff. There's just so many things that kind of go hand in hand with each other. And a lot of things look the same, but I share because I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, know what it's done for myself, 2 of my kids, and so many that I'm working with. It's just been wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks, Val. Thanks for sharing. And Val, talked about some of the products, and we'll mention, towards the end of this discussion, some of the things that are working for our kids, from a science perspective and what they are. Yeah, Stephanie, let's hear from you. You're newer to the group, but let's hear, some of the pain points that you've gone through with your son, Joshua, and kind of the road that you're kind of on right now.
Sure. All our stories seem to start out the same. It sounds just like you're telling my story. From the beginning, Joshua, we started having discussions with his teachers when he was in 1st grade. And, as a mom, it's hard to hear discussions like that because you feel like it's coming across as they're telling you that your child is broken in some way. That's what you're hearing. And I had already known, and it was in my mind that I just did not want to go the pharmaceutical route. So we delayed it and tried, the food eliminations, the dyes, and it was just really difficult to do. It's hard to do with a child. And getting them to understand why they can't have certain food items when other kids can. So long story short, 3rd grade, it was the end of his 2nd grade, we were told that we needed to take him and have him evaluated. So 3rd grade, he started with pharmaceuticals, and he's been on those off and on up until recently. And he made the decision. He is now 16, will be 17 Monday. And he made the decision this year that he no longer wanted to take medications because of how they were making him feel and the side effects that he was having.
Yeah.
So I told him at that point that was perfectly fine if he wanted to do that, but we needed to start researching and looking for natural alternatives. So I researched and followed people on social media, and came across Colleen with MRA and started researching their products, met with her, asked questions. And once I talked with her, I knew that's where we needed to be. So we have started several different things with Joshua. He had COVID twice in one school season, and it really wreaked havoc on his body. So there's, inflammation can exacerbate ADHD symptoms. So he has a lot of inflammation in his body. His central nervous system is all out of whack. All of that can irritate the ADHD symptoms. So we're working in 3 different areas with him. An elimination diet for inflammation. He had a brain mapping, so we're working on the neurofeedback. He's getting chiropractic care for his central nervous system. And then we are slowly but surely getting him started with these natural supplements. And it's a little harder for him because he has such an aversion to different tastes and textures. But we're getting them in him the best that we can right now. So I'm confident that once we get other areas, the inflammation and the central nervous system worked out, that he'll be more compliant when it comes to taking the supplements. I know that they're going to work because I'm taking them for the same reasons that Valerie. I had long COVID symptoms as well, and just recently did our reboot product, a 3-day product, and it was like a light switch after the 3rd day. I could not believe the clarity, how good I felt when I got up that morning. It's hard to describe unless you go through it. I was like a totally different person when I woke up. So I know they work because I'm using them, and I'm hopeful for him. So that's our story.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks so much, Stephanie. So a couple of things that you, anytime someone talks, it kind of triggers something else to share. Our kids are not broken. Our kids are not broken. And when they constantly get pulled in to teacher conferences and the IEP meetings, and I remember going through with my son, and he would walk in the room, he's like, okay, now what did I do? What did I do wrong? And it just messes with them. And, it's that constant, pattern that they're hearing, like, I am broken. I can't do this, or, that constant, I'm not good enough, or, so we did go down that road. And interesting story, when I was moving a few years ago, I was going through drawers of, all the files of all the school reports, and, and I was looking at them, and I just started bawling, crying, because every school report from 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, common theme. Eamon's not doing this. Eamon's not doing this. Eamon's not turning this in. Eamon's not completing assignments. And I lost it. I'm like, this is what is going, this is how these kids are learning and or expected to learn. And he's 25 now. So that was several years ago. I'm hoping things have improved in the schools regarding this. But another thing that you mentioned, Stephanie, was really interesting is that, supplements are a huge piece of the puzzle, especially when there's imbalances going on. But there are other things, nutrition. My son, both my kids did yoga because I'm a yoga instructor, and the mindfulness piece, my son still turns to it. The exercise piece, he was on the swim team, track team, getting all the lifestyle components in place is equally important that I love to coach people on. And it does help. But the supplement piece is a huge piece because there are certain imbalances. Science is really pointing us in a direction, and kind of it's like a paradigm shift that these brain issues that we've always thought are happening up in the brain are really happening in the body, the imbalances in the gut microbiome and how the gut is communicating with the brain. And we'll share more about that, either on this call or subsequent calls, or get the information to you. But let's hear from Kim. Kim is also kind of new to the group, and she brings on some, experience with her family as well. And so Kim, please share.
Okay, I didn't know I was, so here we go. Raw and real is what that's called. Yeah. Yeah, I do have way too much experience in this. Yeah. I have 5 kids. 3 of them have ADHD, 2 have had it diagnosed very early. I also have a daughter with the dyslexia and the central auditory processing. But my kids are older. They're all in their 30s, except for my youngest son, who's just turned 23, and he dealt with anxiety. And now I'm figuring out that anxiety literally is being kind of fueled by the ADHD, and they really run together. So, go back 30 some years, and there was no other option. I was told there was a chemical missing in his brain and this medicine would make up for that. Okay, well, works for me. I don't know. And, try different medicines. And we just did it. And in my gut, I knew it. In my gut, I knew there was something better. I've always been more into natural, holistic. And so I did the same thing. I did a ton of research, tried the diet, tried different supplements, tried the food dyes. I tried so much, and nothing would work. And it's tough. It's tough because these kids are kids and they just aren't going to be compliant. And so we just didn't find anything that worked. We just didn't. So we continued on that path, and I continued to search. And then I found out about, the gut-brain connection, and that all made a lot of sense to me. And tried some real specific probiotics, but nothing helped, you guys. Everything I tried, nothing really helped. So, we did the medication. I had a couple of my kids say, I'm not going to do it anymore. We did those IEP meetings, gut wrenching. Seriously, they're gut wrenching as a parent. And I know on the other side, the educators aren't trying to do that. They just have no idea what that feels like on the other side of the table, to hear them talking so negative about everything your child can't do. And so it's just a catch-22 all the way around. So I could not be more thrilled that I have come across this company, that I've started to learn about the neurotransmitters being created in the gut. Like, who knew that, right? And it's not a chemical that's missing in the brain. And this excites the heck out of me, because I now have 10 grandchildren, and I have some of them that are going through the same thing. So the thing that we can help other people and help these other kids not have to go down that painful path of what we've all been down. I'm just thrilled. I'm thrilled to be part of this. I'm thrilled to meet you guys and that we have something that is making a difference. And literally, I just helped my niece. I'll tell you a quick little story. My niece's daughter is in 11th grade, and she contacted me and just said, she's not going to school. She's in the parking lot. She's crying. Val, or was it Val with your older son, where, you know, you get that phone call? And I got that from my son. He'd be in the bathroom going, Mom, 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 I can't do that. And the panic on the other end, when you said, now you're giving me anxiety, the panic on the other end sucks because you don't know what to do. And so she's going through that. And I was just learning about these products. And I'm like, I got you. I got you. I got some stuff. I'm going to get them to you as soon as I can. I don't want you to have to go through this. Then we had to slowly convince the daughter to take them, which is also another challenge sometimes. And she's taking them, and she started taking them last week. And I checked in on her and said, how is she doing? And she said, well, she's doing better. We're not getting those frantic phone calls. I wish I could pull it up, and then she said, and she's actually having conversation with me and not being so moody, which is a big win. So yeah, there's something to it. And that's that.
Well, Kim, it's life-changing for these kids to not feel anxious at school, to not be moody and irritable. They don't want to go through life feeling that way. And when we can have life-changing, meaningful results for people, that's why I share this. That's why I, got permission from my son to share his story, because having come out the other side, I don't want other families to go through the long road of struggle. It's a long, not fun road to be on year after year.
One thing I want to say to the younger people who are here, and the new people that are just learning about this, is the path that they were designed to be on, the person who they were made to be, right? This changes their path. And I have no doubt about the fact that a couple of my kids are not on the path or doing what they would want to do, or that they were created to do, but that their self-image and their confidence got so affected that they don't have the wherewithal to take that next step. They don't have the confidence in themselves. So if you can help these younger kids early on get that success, that they can stay on the path that they're meant to be on, that's life-changing for all of them.
Yeah. I mean, and it was life-changing for my son at, he was 22 at the time. Yeah. I mean, and I always think back, had I had these solutions when he was younger, what his path would have, been, but I'm not going there because he's happy, he's thriving in life. And that's what this is. It's life change. It's life tools, right? Equip them with the right tools and let them flourish, allow them to follow their passions, to feel confident, and to be successful on their terms, right? I always felt like he wasn't able to be who he, on his own terms, right? If that makes sense. And another thing that you brought up, Kim, is, the anxiety, and Val brought it up too, anxiety and ADHD, how they kind of go together. My other child who's in college, we didn't realize, because I said, you know what, you're going on this protocol. I call it a protocol because it's a system, unlike anything else that I've ever come across, because we did try a gamut of natural approaches and nothing moved the needle. Like you said, Kim, nothing moved the needle enough to give us the results. But I said, you know what, you're going on these products as you go off to college, because college is stressful. I want you to get good nutrition, sleep, and all of that. She went on the products and she didn't realize she had an underlying anxiety issue, because when you take away that weight of anxiety and what that feels like, she didn't know, because that's, you don't know until you know, kind of thing. And she's like, wow, Mom, I can, go to my classes, I can study and then not feel that, these anxious feelings that she didn't realize she was having. And a lot of times our kids can't communicate that, they don't know what they're like, is this normal? Is it not? Until it's kind of lifted, right? The brain fog, it's lifted. So I don't know if anyone who's new on the call tonight, Nat, Teresa, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce it right, Araceli or Sylvia, if you want to just share a little bit about your journey or your struggle that you are experiencing with your child or someone and this is just a forum to kind of share some struggles and then we can kind of navigate that just a different path for you if you're open to learning about these natural solutions, because obviously I think that's why you're here tonight, just to kind of learn. We've done these calls before where I have slides, and we can have another call that you can hop back on. See, Nat said, I'm sorry, I'm actually at work right now, but I'm just listening. Great, Nat. Make sure that you reach out to, I don't know if someone invited you or you found out about this, but we can get more information to you. So anyone else that wants to kind of unmute, Araceli, I can if needed. Oh, there you go. I think you're unmuted.
Okay, hi. So I love listening to you guys because one, I don't know very many people that I can speak to like in my area. My son goes to a private Christian school, so we don't have the IEHP program and all of that involved like some of the other parents that I know of that have a kid with ADHD. My son is 12 and I want to say it was like third grade where it started becoming an issue in class. And it could have been before, but I think what was happening is because of a divorce that his anxiety level was going up. Like he was kind of displaying some like anger issues. And I was like, okay, that's it. As long as we get counseling, like he'll be better. So come about third or fourth grade is when we finally went to go get him tested. And it was just on kind of like a whim, like what else can we do? And it was recommended by his therapist. So he was diagnosed on a lower scale of ADHD, if that's even like a thing, right? Because it's still all new to me. And after a lot of reluctance, I decided to do the Adderall, the extended release. But the way she described it was at the lowest dosage. So he was doing good. But now we're talking about 2 years later, 3 years later, he's in middle school now. So there's a lot more stress when it comes to middle school and different classes, different teachers. Because before in fourth and fifth grade, he only had one teacher, and that one teacher would learn how to like deal with him, right? Which is always what it felt like a teacher had to deal with him. And so he did good when it comes down to like going to separate classes now, because his attention level, he's just like, okay, I only have an hour here and then I could go somewhere else. So he was really excited about middle school when it came to that. But then you see like his grades like dropping, right? And then you see like they have Chromebooks. So he would listen. He's just like, well, I already know that stuff, Mom. And then he would, do something else. So I'd get the message like, Adam's being very distracted in class. And, I was like, come on, you only got an hour, kiddo, like an hour, like stay focused. And because of COVID, we only do like video chats with his doctor. And again, I'm reluctant to increase a dosage. So I I never really thought a holistic approach to ADHD, only because I am not familiar with it. Like I am still very naive to a lot of, ADHD and symptoms and treatments and everything. And I really felt that Adderall was the only solution that could help, even if it's at the low dosage. Me being a mom, I wanted to say, let's do the low dosage and then we can work on everything else, right? Like, let's see if that helps him. So we call it his focus pill. He takes his focus pill before school. And on the weekends, he doesn't take it. He doesn't take it in the summer, only when he's in school. But I mean, even on like right now that he's not in school, like you see that he's very scatterbrained, right? Like I have to tell him like 5 times, like, Adam, pick up your shoes. Like the dog's gonna eat it, right? Like Adam, like, and he's just like, Mom. So here comes a frustration, from him, comes a frustration from me. And I know that he knows that he's diagnosed with ADHD, but me as a mom, I think I don't want to keep reiterating the ADHD because I don't want him to feel like he has a stigma. But I think I've gotten to the point where like and he's older, so I can have better conversations with him, where it's like I want him to understand like how he's feeling and how we can like help it, right? Not fix it, but how we can help it, like how he can work towards it like on his own, and if I can help him, and me myself, I have family with autoimmune, so I just recently I learned that the elimination diet helps a lot of symptoms with like better sleep, and all of that. And that's kind of what guided me to look something up and be like, well, what if like what if there is something that is natural that's going on in his body, right? That I don't have to, or at least even if we keep with the low dosage and there's something else that I can help him with. So that's where, I guess that's where I'm at right now. And I literally was Googling things like on my way to work this morning. And I was like, oh, there's a meeting today. Like, let me try and, like find out. And I jumped on it. And so that, I guess that's where I'm at. I don't, like a lot of your stories have resonated with the way you're describing how your kids are and I guess some of the frustrations. So thank you guys for sharing.
Yeah.
No, thank you so much. And I just want to jump in because your story and you were just so brave to share all that. And just like you just said, this is so new for you. It's a little bit uncomfortable. And I, just having 3 boys on my own, and they're all so different. And working with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids. I think it's really hard for families, parents, guardians to hear that our child has a diagnosis. And for me as a therapist and someone who's been in the field and in the education system for so long, we all have a diagnosis. I don't care who you are, we all do. It could be a mental health diagnosis, it could be a medical diagnosis, whatever it is, we have one. So we have to kind of own it and work with that. And it doesn't make us any less of a person. It really gives us an idea of how we are and who we are and how our brains function, how our body functions. So, I think you're in a little bit of a different situation in a sense because your son is in a private setting. They don't honor the IEP, right? And then you're kind of feeling like, oh my gosh, it's these constant uncomfortable conversations because it's not the positive that, okay, he came to school today and he had a great day, because that's what the school should be calling and telling you, regardless of what that looks like. Every phone call home that's negative, to me as a counselor, as an advocate, it's not acceptable. And I'm going to be honest with you, CJ is my youngest son. I have been doing this a long time and I will never, it makes me like still want to cry. He was in kindergarten. He came home in our elementary schools, like literally in our neighborhood, the kids walk, and 2 older brothers there. And he comes home and he's crying and he's like, Mom, I'm not going back there. I'm stupid. And I said, what do you mean you're stupid? Well, my teacher made me feel, okay, so I already know that he learns different. I don't know what that different was. I felt like I knew, but again, like I'm a counselor, mental health, as far as, dyslexia, that wasn't my realm of expertise, and it's not. I've learned a lot, but Sorry, one's coming down the steps if you hear that. And I looked at him and I said, CJ, you are not stupid. You are so smart. And guess what, honey? Just like you and just like me, our brains might work a little bit different. I learned different too. And I struggled reading when I was a kid. It was uncomfortable, but it's the truth. And I know the principal very well. And I emailed her and I said, I would appreciate a phone call. I'm available the rest of the evening or tomorrow. And I've known her for a while. My sister is admin in the district. So she called me and I said, very, very respectfully and kindly, because I know it was not her intention or whatever be, and the teachers there are amazing. But I said, Donna, my only expectation, my son is in your building, is that he comes home every day happy, a smile on his face, that your staff is building his confidence and self-esteem. At that point, I don't care if my kid can read. That's not what this is about, because if we don't build up his self-esteem and confidence, guess what? Nothing else will ever work for him. And guess what? He never came home one other day ever without a smile on his face. So regardless, my point of sharing this with you, and if I'm happy to give you my information, we can talk, I can support you and kind of going the route that, could be more supportive for your son. The kid should never feel different. They should never feel it. And if a teacher is giving that vibe, and you're getting those phone calls, not just speaking to you, but in general as parents, and we're getting these negative emails or negative phone call, imagine what's going on in that school building that we're not even aware of. To me, that is unacceptable. We have a responsibility as educators, as a school counselor, as whoever's in these buildings, as parents, you are your child's voice, no matter what. So if you feel like something is a little bit off, it's off. And just be calm about it, breathe through it, kind of before you call and want to go for the jugular, because trust me, I am so good at my job. But when it comes to my kids, girl can go a different route real quick, right? But I'm just being honest. I have to literally tell myself we're not going there. And thankfully, it's been a long time. I think, we're in situations, and I literally just had a very good friend. She's actually a psychologist, and she specializes in traumatic brain injury. And her daughter, the past 2 weeks, she's in high school, had suicidal ideation. It was really, really concerning. And she called me and she's like, I need you to come here. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like I'm going to have to hospitalize like one of my best girlfriend's kids. Like, what am I going to do? But at the end of the day, I got to do what I have to do. And she's so against pharmaceuticals. And the mom was like, I will try anything. But the daughter, 16 or 17, she's like, I'm not taking that. I'm not going to the doctor. So whatever, we started these products. We had to adjust some of how she's taking them. She's a little bit not liking some of the flavors, I shouldn't say the flavors, but she's not willing to at this point to go there. So we had to adjust how she's consuming them, but knock on wood, it's been 2 weeks and she has not been hospitalized. I've been meeting with her 3 times a week. To the point of me sharing this is sometimes I think just intervention as far as supplementation is a perfect way to go. But sometimes when we have been kind of told that we aren't as good as the other kids, or we're different than the other kids, or we're showing aggression or not sitting still, that we need not the pharmaceutical, we need supplementation support as well as talk therapy support. And that could be not just with the child, but the family, because now the parent has been triggered in a sense, and now we're overwhelmed. And until we balance our own self, how do we support our child? You know what I mean? There's a whole realm of a cycle that just happens and we don't even realize it. It's tough. So you're not alone. You are so brave. And I'm so thankful that you came on here and shared that, because I felt that was hard for you, but you're ready to do this. You're just tired. So you're taking a good step.
The school is that he goes to now, I'm fortunate because he's been there since he was 3 years old. So he did 3-year-old preschool there, 4-year-old preschool there, and then TK kinder. And then it goes all the way to 8th grade. So they have seen that he takes medication, because again, I don't have to, because it's a private school, right? Like, and we do it in the morning before he goes to school. And again, he takes it along with his vitamins. but they have noticed that there's a difference when he can self-regulate a lot more. So thankfully for me, because I was worried about like those parent teacher conferences that happened a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, oh my God, here it is, right? Because it's always a stressful experience going in, and I was like, yes, my kid is active. Like, yes, I know. And I raised my boys to be boys. Like, I want them to go outside and like play in the dirt, right? And like pick up lizards and, you know, do all of that stuff. And so I was very happy to hear, and it's because they've known him for so long that, hey, before 2-3 years ago, he would get very angry and he would shut down, and there was no bringing him back. And I was like, here we go. Let's see what middle school is bringing. And when that parent teacher conference was just like, hey, look, this is where he's lacking in its grades. But as soon as it was gonna be over, his homeroom teacher is just like, you know, Araceli, I noticed a big change in Adam. If he gets frustrated, if he's been corrected, he'll get frustrated with himself, but he's able to bring himself back.
Right.
And for me, that's a big turning point, because we are able to talk about it more because he's older. And I can tell him like, hey, if you're upset, like you need to like reel it back in, right? Like take a breath. And then when you're ready, we're going to move on. And I think that being able to talk to him has helped, which it brings me to the point where I am now, where like I want him to be able to understand like what's going on, so he can let me know if something's working or like not working. Because absolutely, like as a mom, like we're the biggest advocates like for our kids, right? But I can't push something on him if it's not like I need to get something back from him to see if it is, you know, if it is better for him, if he is happier, you know, and stuff like that. So I'm really hoping we're going in the right direction at this point.
Well, thanks so much for sharing as well, Araceli. You reminded me of something. So my son, you know, I did get permission from him to share his story over and over again to help other people. And he actually wrote out his story in like his terms. And, you know, he kind of went back to, you know, first grade, you know, my parents were looking for other solutions, and then they went down the pharmaceutical route. And he said, that's when his life changed. Like he wrote this out. That's when his life changed. And he continued to write about, you know, all the side effects and how he couldn't feel like himself. And he was a very creative person. He started singing on tune at the age of 18 months and playing guitar, very musically, you know, capable. And he felt held back creatively from the meds. And even in sports, he felt like he couldn't like give it his all, because they just kind of hold you back. And I guess the reason why I'm sharing that is that at the end, he said, you know, thank you, Mom, for never giving up on me, for advocating for better solutions for me, for other families. And he's old enough to kind of, you know, write this, but it warmed my heart that yes, he went through a struggle, but I feel in my heart that he went through that struggle to help other families. So that's why I'm here, to get the word out that, you know, when I came across this company, it's called the Mental Wellness Company for a reason. It's strictly to help people with their mental wellness. And I say mental wellness, not mental illness, because we all have mental health. We all carry stress. We all react to stress. We, you know, under stress, we can have brain fog, focus issues. And I like to think of ADHD as just a collection of symptoms. And these symptoms are often caused by the imbalances in our bodies. And these imbalances are causing these neurotransmitters, our serotonin for our mood, our dopamine for our motivation, our norepinephrine for focus, our GABA for relaxation, to misfire up to the brain. So, you know, I see remarkable results for kids that are just using our saffron extract mood stabilizer, because they can feel calm in the face of stress, in anxious moments, going even off to onto the soccer field or basketball court before performances. It calms the nervous system enough and anxious feelings enough for them to focus. So this particular product has clinical results. So it's clinically studied ingredient to have equivalent results to Prozac for depression and anxiety, and Ritalin for focus. And when I saw those statistics, that caught my attention. That caught my attention because if we can get similar results or even as effective or even more effective than a pharmaceutical medicine, I'd rather be putting plant-based nutrition into my child, you know, if I can get the same results. Like, believe me, we tried a bunch of different piecemealing supplements together over the years, and nothing really moved the needle. So we kind of stuck with the pharmaceutical route until this came along. I said, Eamon, we're trying this. And he, you know, felt the results enough to tell his physician, because at that time he was going to his physician appointments on his own, to tell his physician not to write his ADHD script. And that was his senior year in college. He's like, no, I don't need my ADHD script. And she was just like, oh, okay. Like, and he shared what he was, you know, I was not at the appointment with him. So that was really powerful. But when I studied the gut-brain connection and saw these clinical trials, that got my attention. And the scientist, the formulator, has a child with ADHD. He has hand-picked these ingredients and the sourcing of these ingredients that I trust, you know, hands down, for my children, for the families that I work with, that these are the best options for our kids. I can say it and swear by it. These are the best options for our kids. If you want, you know, to evaluate and give it a try. Like, I always say, like, what do you have to lose? And even if you are on pharmaceutical meds, we have a pediatrician that has introduced these products into his practice. And a lot of his kiddos, because he's prescribed them, because he didn't have any other options, he would get so anxious going into a room knowing that this family was coming to him for mental wellness issues, like ADHD, anxiety, depression. He would be like, oh, I don't have any solutions for these families other than the medicines. And now he has kids who are still on medications, but the side effects are being helped with these supplements, or he's been able to lower the dosage or wean them off. So it is possible. And we have just seen so many transformational stories of kids. I mean, I can write a book about it, right? I meant to bring it in because I had, let me see if I have it right here. Just some of the stories. I might have left it in the kitchen. Let me see. Oh, no, I have it here. You know, just my son saying, you know, from that point forward, my life was very different. School, learning, paying attention, making friends at school were all challenging. I would still have problems with my ADHD, focusing, completing assignments. My homework would take so long that I would just give up and take the 0. The side effects from the meds weren't helping either. No appetite. I couldn't get to sleep. Woke up tired and sluggish, felt like a zombie, unmotivated. Believe me, it sucked. At one point, I was on one medication to help me focus and another to help my brain shut off so I could sleep. I continued to take my meds, but at what cost? I didn't feel like myself anymore, and I was still struggling in school. I hated it so much that I would fake taking my pills. Those were my happier days, but it didn't solve the bigger issue of how I performed in school. barely making it through high school on and off meds. I went to college excited for the next chapter of my life. The school workload became really difficult to manage, so I started taking my meds again when I needed to pull an all-nighter, a paper due, or an exam. But it still wasn't enough, and it was just a temporary fix. I hoped all along that my mom would find a better and more permanent solution for me. And that's when his senior year came in, and and this is what he writes after he started the protocol. Within the first month, I felt my life beginning to change. I started rocking it at my high pressure restaurant job. So this is just not for school. This is for life. You know, he was performing, he noticed his performance at his job improve. I achieved my highest GPA, both my fall and spring semesters, a huge win for me, and I know for my mom. My message to all you parents of younger kids or older kids my age, give this a try. We literally tried everything. This solution has allowed me to achieve success not only in school, but it's provided me with the foundation to move forward in my life with more confidence and ease. It's what we want for our kids. We want them to feel confident and at ease in anything and everything that they do, right? So I hope that was okay for me sharing, because it's powerful. He wrote that. So, and I have all these other stories of kids, a young mom who just had her daughter on the saffron extract. I started to see wonderful results with the kids' mood last Saturday with Chloe. She had gymnastics, and I gave her that before we left, and her focus was amazing. Right? Thanks to Mood Plus, my teenager is more happy than cranky. We have been able to reduce his anxiety meds significantly for the first time ever. Huge transformation, thank you. It's changed the tenor of our house. The relief, the ease, it has a ripple effect on everyone. I mean, these are text messages that I receive and just warms my heart. Hey mom, my speech went really well. I was really nervous before, but I took the kids' mood and felt a lot better. It sort of turned my anxious nerves into good nerves and more excitement than anything else. That was my daughter. I'm so thankful for these holistic solutions, no homework battle, smiling ear to ear, and did extra reading on his own. No more pharmaceuticals. Happiest he's ever been. I have a teenager who was using ADHD meds for years. With the solutions, he was able to wean off his meds. He didn't like the way the meds made him feel. He felt numb, and now he feels happy. One more here. My 9-year-old daughter hates taking her ADHD meds because of the way they make her feel. I'm so glad you helped me get stuff to help her. It's not 100% yet, but it's getting there. So this is not like a cure-all for ADHD or anxiety or depression. These are to give your body and your brain what it needs to get your body to function as it's and your brain to function as it's meant to, right? So I hope this was okay. This is our, first of many forums to just talk about our struggles, but work towards solutions, right? Anything else that you want to add, Stephanie, Val, Kim? If Sylvia wants to share.
I would just, that's what I would like to see with this forum too, is just to be a group of moms supporting each other, because it can be very isolating, raising a child that's neurodivergent, because they have the impulsive behaviors. They're rejected by friends and their peers all the time. All they hear are negative feedback from their instructors in school. So their just self-esteem is beat down. And, we as their moms, want to protect them. So we tend to isolate them even more because we don't want them going into environments where they're going to be, harmed with people's words. I know that I did. And then I felt like I had no support system whatsoever. I didn't even know what executive functioning skills and social emotional dysregulation, all these terms, until he was in 9th grade. And the child has been seeing a doctor for his ADHD since he was in 3rd grade. So, I was not educated. I didn't know that I was going to have to go out and educate myself on this. So it would help, I think, to be able to share that with other moms that, are maybe just now facing this, to empower them with information that they may not be getting, to help their children not go through what my sons had to go through.
Exactly.
Protect their children from that same, it's just so sad because he just had another panic attack this last Thursday. And it all boils down to the fact that the instructor that he has for that class he was supposed to do a debate in front of 30 people on a team that he knew he couldn't do. She knew he couldn't do it. And she's not been very nice to him with her words this school season. So he's been really beat down and he's not going to perform well. He's not going to be able to perform. He was paralyzed.
Yeah.
And you know what? He shouldn't be expected to either.
Yeah.
And that's a whole, and we can talk about that some other time. And I'm happy to have that conversation with you,
Yeah.
but that makes my heart hurt to hear that.
Yeah. So, we just, I look at it as Joshua is unfortunately having to go through this so we can use his story to help others. And I think he knows that as well. So, there's always the rainbow at the end of the storm. So that's what we're looking for. So just to empower these other moms that just don't have the support.
Yeah, absolutely. You nailed it, Stephanie. It's really to put the power back on us moms, because we are the ones who are advocating. We are the ones going out and educating ourselves. I had to do the same. There was no doctor, psychiatrist telling me, what's causing. I would over and over again ask, well, what's causing this? What's causing him not to be able to focus? They didn't have an answer. So it takes research. I knew all along there was a connection between the gut and the brain. I took books out. It was more geared towards the autism world, but ADHD, autism, it's the gut brain disruption disorders or issues. And, took it upon myself to get educated and keep learning. And I don't beat myself up, because I had this conversation with the scientist formulator, Dr. Sean. I said, how come I didn't know about this 10, 15 years ago? He's like, because the science wasn't there yet. It really wasn't. We are at the perfect storm of what this company is doing, the science, how they are helping people, how they are helping kids. It's available now. It was not available 10, 15 years ago. So we are here to share, educate, empower. I love it. I love this. And I'm really happy that you all are here tonight. I'm going to be mindful of everyone's time, and we're going to be doing this every month. We might in January kick it up to twice a month, but we will have another one in December. We'll let everyone know. And if you have any questions, just get with the person who invited you. If you just found this on their internet, contact me and we'll get you, the information that you need just to learn more. All right. Thanks so much for hopping on, everyone. And look forward to continuing this conversation, continuing this community and this forum of sharing and problem solving and helping our kids.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.